5, 6, 7, 8. Rock step, triple step, rock step, cha-cha-cha.
Hi, my name is Lou. My pronouns are they, them.
And my name is Kate, and my pronouns are also they, them.
Just two they, thems talking about dance.
Dance and stuff.
Amazing. Kate, we got someone special here today, don't we?
Yes, absolutely. Today we are talking with the amazing Anne Gaskins. Anne uses she, her pronouns and is a therapist and a salsa teacher here in Seattle, Washington. Anne and I have worked a lot together. She's dabbled in various dance styles for years and is a performer with a Latin fusion dance team, also in Seattle. And Anne works as a therapist specializing in eating disorders and body image and is passionate about making dance accessible and fun for all bodies.
Amazing. Anne, welcome to the Degender Dance Podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Anne.
Yeah, we heard that you were just at the Reno Latin Dance Fest. And we know that going to dance festivals and these big weekenders can often bring up a lot, especially being in a lot of like workshops and classes and dance floors and stuff like that. Do you have anything to share?
Yeah, absolutely. It was the first time I went was a year ago, so it was really interesting it's always interesting to go back to the same place that you were in sort of a cyclical way, because what came up for me was all the ways that I've grown in the past year, which was really cool. And also I did a lot of performing. I performed 2 nights out of the festival. And then I also did a 6-hour intensive with some really big name salsa dancers who turned out to be really good teachers as well, which is not always, sometimes it's not true. But yeah, what I loved about them was several times during the 6 hours that I spent in their class, and it was a fundamentals class. So we started with, it was fundamentals for intermediate advanced salsa dancer. So it wasn't for total beginners, even though there were some total beginners in the class, but they dived into body movement, the basic right turns, left turns, inside turns, outside turns, basic partner work stuff, lots of connection.
I love getting into the basics with a bunch of people that really care about getting into the basics. It's so good.
Yeah, they said, if you ever get a chance to study with a famous salsa dancer, don't study their advanced stuff, study their fundamentals.
Absolutely.
Like, go to their fundamentals class.
Oh, that's so good.
I need that stitched on a pillow. I love that.
Yeah. Well, and there were several times during class that I felt, often during dance classes, I feel emotional. Like, I'll have kind of an emotional experience come up, and there will be these blips of like, oh, that really hits, or oh, that really hits. And I made a list of like words of wisdom that I got from the class, because so much of it was about like, how do we connect with each other? How do we connect with our own bodies? And there were just a lot of things in there that made me think about how dance is like about relationship first and foremost to ourselves and to others. They literally said, you have to get familiar enough in your own body, like with your own body movements, to then be able to dance with somebody else.
Wow.
And I was like mind blowing. Like it just always hits, because I'm like immediately connected to how this is about relationship and how this is about life. So yeah.
That's amazing.
That's very cool.
I'd love to ask, who was the couple? Was this Dejan and Chloe, like you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, Dejan and Chloe. Yep.
Nice. Yes, I've taken a very brief class with them and was just very moved at how much their teaching and dancing is about connection and like room for one another.
Yes. Yes.
And
that's what I loved about it.
Yeah, they got that across in like a 60-minute drop-in.
Wow.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I liked most about them was that they emphasized so much that every dance with every person will be different. And we have this mutual responsibility, leads and follows, to assess the energy of the relationship and adapt in different ways to each person that we're dancing with. So it's not... Dejan several times got some questions from the leads like, well, what if I want to do this thing and they can't do this thing? And Dejan is like, it's not about doing what you want to do. That's not what dancing is about. Dancing is about being in relationship with the person in front of you and adjusting to what you want to do together.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
And I was
love
like,
that.
Oh, I I love it.
I love
Yes.
anytime, especially in like these really like these more advanced dancers, these people that are taken as such an authority, when they strip away like all of these fancy moves and these shapes
Yes.
that a lot of people are like hungry to do the really like fancy stuff, that instead we sit down in the basics and are like, nope, you're just like having a conversation with another person in front of you. And that's just such an important thing. And it is like such a beautiful metaphor, like this little microcosm of how we are always relating with people.
One of the things that really stuck out to me was they were talking about following, and they were giving us feedback based on what they saw. They would let us kind of social dance or practice the thing we just learned, and then they would come back with, we're seeing this, we're seeing that. And what Dejan and Chloe were saying was that they saw a lot of people missing what was happening because they weren't looking at their lead. And they were talking about how following is, I think the literal quote they said was, you'll miss 80% of what's happening if you're not paying attention deeply enough to what's happening in your lead's body. Not staring into their eyes or like, connecting with them that way, but just looking at their body. You'll pick up all of these like micro movements, and so you won't have to use your arms, and you won't have to use your brain, and you won't have to like anticipate the move, and you'll feel safer if you're able to really, really connect and tune in to the person across from you, which obviously applies to both roles. But I was thinking about, as a therapist, so much of what I've been doing over many years is just honing my listening skills. Like my ability to sit with somebody and ask them questions that I'm really curious about and hear their answers in a way that's deep and full and make sure I understand them. And that's so much of what therapy is for me. And so it was just really beautiful to sort of have it be in the dance space. And they were like, we want to be active listeners, not reactive listeners. So if we're just reacting to what we're experiencing, we're not actually paying deep enough attention to the other person. And I just thought I'll take that with me.
I think that's incredible. And like,
Yeah.
I think in my experience as a dancer and teaching, it's like also, it's so much about like what you choose to focus on. And choosing to focus on deep listening is like, that's a revolutionary idea in our relationships, in the world where we are now today. It's like, wow, that can change the world actually.
Yeah. Yeah, there's this saying that I really love that's the way you do something is the way you do anything. And I really love that because I mean it's like our personalities are really just like our behaviors and how we bring the same behaviors to all these different places in our life, and dance is this little like petri dish of how we are in relationships. Not only like really shows what our personalities are through this partner dance, that classes like this and moments in dance that really help you tune in to others can then carry over into the rest of your life. If you're really tuning in on the dance floor, you're going to tune in more with your checking out at the grocery store and just like have more embodied, connected experiences in all of our relationships.
Yes. Not only that, I'm just remembering so Kate was my first salsa coach.
Oh, I love that.
Aw.
Mine too,
Team
technically.
one.
Yay, Coach Kate.
Love you both.
Kate. And I just remember, like, even in their team classes and when I first started salsa, I kept having these moments where people would give me feedback, like, you're tensing up and it's hard to lead you when you're tense, or it's hard to, like, I don't feel a connection when you're kind of bracing. And it was me reflecting on, because I'm a therapist, because I already have this lens on things, I was like, oh yeah, that's what I do everywhere in life when things are out of control and I don't know what's going on. I'm just like, okay, freeze, like, you can do it, like, and I try to kind of muscle through or power through. And that was showing up immediately upon my first month of dancing. And so I think not enough people are actually tuned into that level of, like, this can both help you become really, really aware of what your stuff is and also help you work through some of that stuff in a really different way than talking about it or having to be aware of it in a sort of cognitive intellectual way.
I love that Dijon and Chloe are focusing on that and that they offered a class like that for people that don't consider themselves beginners, because I actually think not most people aren't coming into dancing with the lens that you have. So it's really on teachers to be like, I'm going to make this a priority.
Yes.
It's huge. I mean, it means people that are maybe like blindly acting out those things that they do everywhere else in the world on the dance floor have this opportunity to be like, whoa, what am I focusing on? What am I tuning into, and what's going on in my body and my partner's body?
Yeah. And as a teacher, realizing that and being tuned into that level for me has meant feeling this incredible sense of responsibility in leading the classroom and creating a dance space, because I know what level we're working with, and the level we're working with is deep. It's like deep embodied. It's not, you're not coming to dance class. You might be coming to dance class to learn a sequence of moves, but that's like 10% of what's happening in a dance class. And so if teachers are just teaching sequences of moves, that's great, and they will reach a lot of students. And that level, that additional layer of processing and that level, it exists whether we are aware of it or not. And so the more attuned we are to the fact that people are, being vulnerable, exposing themselves to something new in their bodies that they may have never connected with before, that they're confronting all their stuff as they're looking for partners to dance with, as they're entering into partner dance, like this, us as a teachers being attuned to those things just means that we'll be able to create a more supportive space for that stuff to happen in my mind, in my opinion.
Like, gorgeous. Yeah. I love hearing that, especially not only as you bringing that care to the dance floor as you just as a dancer, but also you curating these learning spaces as a dance teacher. I love that you're bringing this therapist lens to it. Love to hear a little bit about how your journey went from therapist to dancer, or did it go from dancer to therapist? What was that trajectory for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was this gets into the deep details, because have I always been a dancer? I think I've always been a dancer, right? But
we're all born dancers, aren't we? Yes, yes.
Yeah. I think you all said this in a previous episode, but whenever people are like, "Oh, I can't dance," I'm like, I know you think that, but like, you haven't found the right. Yeah, it's like, and I think we're actually conditioned out of dancing.
Absolutely, yes,
because little kids can move their bodies, and it's not a big deal to anyone, and it's fun and it's amazing. Anyway, and then we get more and more self-conscious and filtered as we get older, but. I actually became a therapist. I want to say, so I went to school in 2018. No, I went to school in 2017. So 2017 is when I started therapy school. And I didn't start doing salsa dancing until after I actually took one class right before COVID hit. In 2020, and it was Kate's class. It was like a beginner series class.
Oh my god, that's like the same trajectory. We could have been dancing like at the same time, and then got into it right before the pandemic.
Yes, it was 2020, March of 2020 or February, I think. Yeah. I took one class and the whole studio shut down for COVID, and and so I came back to it actually because I also went through a breakup. So at the time I started dancing, I'd already been a therapist, I think for 2 or 3 years. So I was kind of new. I consider that to be new at therapy. And I think the lenses really informed each other, because I think dance was actually a space where it was cool, because even on our team, nobody knew I was a therapist for like 6 months. Like it kind of allowed me to lead with other parts of myself and to be more like doing personal work and not, and so I was seeing all this stuff about myself personally. And I think only in the last like year or so, I've started to, and when I started teaching, like I started to kind of have more of a lens of, okay, how are we doing this therapeutically? How can we create spaces, all of this stuff for other people? And so I'm still doing my own personal work through dancing and in other ways, but yeah, it's evolved over time as I have evolved now I've been a therapist for 7 years, so
Amazing.
I'm not
Yeah.
not new anymore. Yeah.
I feel like that work, like if the focus is to embody, that work doesn't end. That
Yes.
work as a dancer and a dance teacher, it actually, like you said, I really resonate with that. I can't remember what the word you used, but there's like a seriousness to taking on being a dance teacher. And a lot of times I'm just like not that sure like how to do the best job that I can do, because it's delicate. It's really delicate work, and it takes a lot of you just have to take it with like a little bit of seriousness. It's and I don't mean that in like it doesn't need to be heavy. It just needs to be something that you're aware of.
Yes.
And you step into those rooms and hold that space, because a lot of people are either unaware that they're really vulnerable or vulnerable and aware. But everybody's vulnerable.
Yes, everyone is at different stages of awareness of it. I think that's the key. And also, I love the way that you all talk a lot about like getting things wrong and like, listening. And I think that's also what it's about is we can't create a space that's guaranteed to be 100% what everybody needs. But what we can do is be responsive when we notice or when we hear from people or when something happens. Kind of honing our ability to respond is actually, I think, where most of my work has been, is being able to take in what's happening and integrate it for myself and come up with a way to navigate it differently. And I think that listening and responding is what I lean into when I'm like not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'm going to do things right. I'm not sure if I'm doing what everyone needs. Like, I'm always just trying to pay attention to the feedback I'm getting, even if it's like body language or people's emotional regulation or dysregulation or, just taking in information and editing accordingly or like adjusting accordingly. Yeah.
So I really want to get into some other topics that you're passionate about and we're passionate about. But I have like one burning question, which is I can clearly hear what you're bringing from therapy to the classroom and to your dancing. Are you bringing anything from dance specific that's like dance specific to the therapy in your sessions?
That's such a great question. Gosh, I just think, in terms of directly, like, am I teaching dance to my, like, am I using the dance knowledge itself? No. However, I also work with, majority of people that I work with are in higher levels of care for eating disorders. So a lot of my work is very focused and, like, intensive, and I don't get to bring a lot of this in. However, what is cool about being a dancer and bringing it in there is, oh gosh, I have like several answers to this. One of them is just how much it's helped me get in my body and feel solid in myself when I am with somebody else. Like, I'm like, you can throw whatever you got at me. Like, I feel more unshakable now than I did before I started dancing. And I think it's like my connection to my gut, my connection to my intuition, like my sense of things feels more solid.
I feel like dance just lets us be in our nervous systems a lot.
Yes.
And it just like creates that awareness in a really big way.
Exactly. Yeah. And I teach some like polyvagal theory and things to my clients.
Amazing.
I do a lot of groups is primarily what now it's not primary, but for many years it was primarily group therapy that I was doing. And so I do a lot of psychoeducation. So I teach people about, like the nervous system, and what I have found to be the most powerful thing is me having a regulated nervous system helps my clients and everyone around me at work also regulate. And I have like seen that happening more and more. Like the more regulated in my nervous system I am, like the better it is for everybody. And I was thinking about this at Reno, actually. I was talking to my friend Connie, who I was rooming with, and we were talking about it, and I was like thinking about how I like and feel as invested in dance as I do in doing therapy and being a therapist. And that helps me be a better therapist and vice versa. Like, I can't go without either of those things now. And being so invested in myself, dancing, performing, like growing, connecting to people, that has only helped and supported me to like sustain being a therapist in a high intensity environment. And it's directly regulating my nervous system, I think, is a big part of how it's done that. Yeah.
Amazing.
And having a way to connect with other people that is not verbal. That's the other thing that I love about it.
That's a really good distinction, I think, because they can be both spaces where you need to be nonverbal in order to connect.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's cool. That's getting me all fired up hearing you talk about that. It's awesome.
I can talk a lot about that.
You work with people who have, like, your main focus is body image and eating disorders, and that's so related to dance and so related to being embodied. I love to hear that you're working with the vagus nerve and stuff like that. What about being embodied? Like, do you take the understanding of that back to the dance floor? Are you ever thinking about like what nervous system state your vagus nerve is in? You're like, oh, this feels a little parasympathetic in this dance.
Yes.
Like, where does that relate for you?
Yeah, totally. I think that's a really great question. I think I can identify that when I'm dancing now. And mostly how it comes up with dancing is if I feel playful, connected, open in a dance, I'm like, oh, that was a great dance. Like, we don't have to be doing... I feel like people don't believe you when you say, like, you can just do the basic and have a good time. Like, I always get like, well, no, you have to do more than that. Like, and I'm like, no, like, the feeling of a dance is the nervous system regulation part of it. Like, if you're in a dance... I don't enjoy dances where I'm being spun around a million times. Like, that actually doesn't feel regulating to me. And sometimes I'm like, I'm tired. Like, why isn't this person noticing that I'm tired and I don't want to do this? And so,
oh my God.
I've gotten way better at listening to myself and figuring out what I like and don't like based on how it makes my body feel and my nervous system feel. So I definitely... And sometimes it's a little bit delayed. Like, sometimes I'll have a dance and then I'll realize later that it was kind of activating.
It's wild how that happens. That happens, we talk about how these things go in any type of conversation. I do that in conversations all the time where I'm just like, yeah, la da da. And the conversation, I walk away and 20 minutes later, I'm like, wait a second.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like that gets stored for like various different periods. As you start to unlock it, you're like, that period can shrink. Right? Like, as you start to like get to know yourself, like maybe it is 20 minutes, but sometimes it's like a decade later, you're like, hey, wait a minute, that was not feeling so good for me.
Yeah, I think it also for me has to do with how activated I am. Like, the more activated I am, the less likely I am to notice it in the moment. The more delayed it is. Yeah.
Word.
Yeah. Good old trauma.
And it's protective. It's like my body protecting me. Like, I'm just fawning, or I'm just like trying to get through the situation, or I'm just freezing, and then later I'll be like, oh, that was really unpleasant and bad, and I have to process something about that. But I fully believe in the body's ability to know when it should be doing that. And like, we can also calibrate it over time as we get more aware of what it's storing from past experiences versus what's happening right now in front of us. Like, those can be two different things too sometimes. Anyway, but there's a lot of work to be done there. I think like a lot can happen there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's even unlocking some things in myself of like, oh yeah, there's a reason that I'm not noticing it in the moment. Like, my body is trying, like, I'm protecting something. Yeah, that's really something. I love that you're bringing up freeze and fawn and stuff like that, because I do think that fawn is very prevalent in, at least in like the white dance spaces. I think that there's a lot of just going out and fawning, and that dance, that some of these dance spaces will do a thing where they like push you to dance really hard, like these dance weekends, and you're dancing just as much as you can, and it's to get past that fawn or that freeze state so that you finally get into like more of a flow state. I don't know if you're reaching it in a very regulated, grounded way, because sometimes it takes a lot of dancing all night to get there, but it kind of gets past that, like that freeze or fawn that we're kind of stuck in all the time.
Yes.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's really powerful. I mean, I've had, I do a style of therapy. I've had 6 years of training in Gestalt therapy, which is
interesting.
all about their definition of like a human organism is a being that is self-regulating in an environment. And so you can't separate out any of those pieces. It's the organism itself, and it's the way it's self-regulating in the specific environment that it's in. We can't like pull a human out of their environment and analyze them from there. We have to consider like what's all the impact of the environment here. And so Gestalt's whole way of conceptualizing like these defenses that come up is interruptions. So basically we get interrupted in our self-regulation processes in all these different ways. And so freeze, fawn, all these ways would be probably considered interruptions, or maybe clusters of interruptions that are happening. And it's interruptions to our ability to self-regulate. But the interruptions themselves are also attempts to self-regulate. So we're like attempting to do the best job that we can, but we only have the tools that are available to us in the given moment, in the given situation. So sometimes those interruptions like help us get our needs met, and other times those interruptions prevent us from getting our needs met. And it depends completely on what's happening and what's in the environment. And so even when you mentioned like breaking through these defenses, or like sometimes it takes like a lot of stimulus or a lot of input in order to get through an interruption and really sink into our experience. And it can't be like a dangerous attack energy. Like it has to be like a safe environment, or like a place where we feel good and comfortable. And or like the activity itself has to be like comfortable enough for us that we can get to like kind of a deeper layer of it, or like a new level of ourselves by getting through those interruptions. And we might have different embodied experiences of that, or different ways of describing it. But for me, it's been through, like intensive dance things, or like training for performances sometimes does it. Or I've had it too in kind of a therapy context, in terms of having like several therapy sessions in a row. In Gestalt training, we practice with each other, practice doing therapy as ourselves with each other. So sometimes you do like 3 10-minute pieces of work in a row, and it like in those experiences, it has like broken through something for me. Sometimes.
Oh, that's incredible. So, yeah, I love thinking about how it can really like disrupt these things, these places that we're normally in, to help get us to a new place of regulation. That's really, really rad.
Yeah, you're actually kind of blowing my mind right now, because before I knew both of you, I danced like 5 nights a week. And I was like training and performing and staying up till I was doing it all. My mom would call it Kate's burning the candle at both ends. Like that's just how I lived my whole life, was on fumes, and I did everything the hardest way I possibly could. And then I like burnt out completely. And in the in the context of my dance life, I really just pulled back in 2020 and stopped doing any of that. And now I'm just kind of like reintegrating into it. And I'm thinking like, wow, neither of those is getting my needs met. Like going completely in all in and burning myself out, or like isolating from dance altogether. So it's like, I don't know. I'm just like thinking about how that can actually be more balanced, and how we can like use those interruptions in our favor to get what we get what we want.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's I've been working for a long time on my version of sort of, I guess I call them for myself. Well, this ties into my work with eating disorders because what I call them for myself are like binge restrict cycles. So part of eating disorder treatment talks about the binge restrict cycle, where the more that we restrict things for ourselves, the more when we finally get access to them, we will binge on them. And for me, that, and obviously there's a food context for that, but it also applies to, for me, like relational connection. Like
Totally.
I felt deprived of it for a long time. So when I finally get access to it, it's like, I just want to be with people all the time forever. Like, and then I hit a limit, and I don't know that I've hit a limit because I'm kind of like really, really into the energy. So then I go back to not getting enough of it. I think that happens too when when you don't get enough of something, you don't have the body cues built up to know how much is too much and how much is not enough, because you're sort of stuck in the not enough gear. It's like, there's never been enough. So you're never going to develop the ability to be like, oh, I want about this much of it, because you don't get that choice, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway,
I think that's where it gets really wild with, especially like the people living under white supremacy in this modern world. We're like so shut down, and we're so separated from culture, and we're so separated from just being embodied that like we go and we get into dance and we're like, oh my God, I feel embodied and connected with others. And you just eat it all up. And then, you know, it can go a lot of different ways. And that what we can really learn is that like you need just a little bit of it all the time. Yeah.
I listened to the episode where you all were thinking about like what draws you to it, like critically thinking about what draws you to this. And I do think it's like the feelings that I have felt in my body and in connection with people that draw me back to Latin dance. And I am thinking of like at Reno also, Jorge and Indira are usually there, and Jorge and Indira are amazing Afro-Cuban dancers. They are, I believe, from Cuba, or at least live there. And they did a live drumming Afro-Cuban workshop last year. And just like the feeling in my body of those drums and of everybody dancing together in these really powerful orishas, like powerful, it was really powerful. And so I think that has kept me coming back, but of course it's also problematic because it's not mine originally. It's not, you know, it did not originate with me, and it's only available to me because of slavery and because of like the African diaspora and like all this stuff. And so it's a complicated thing to be really into Latin dancing.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing all of that.
Yeah, I love that. And it is really, the more that we name it, the more that we talk about it, the more we can kind of navigate it together, because being disconnected from our roots as white people is like a huge problem. And that's a big part of my journey right now, is like reintegrating even what it is to be, I'm Scottish primarily, and what is that for me, and exploring that.
Yeah.
I want to get into a sort of adjacent but different topic. And this is something Anne and I have talked about before, because we taught together for, I don't know how many years, and we're about to start teaching together again. We're going to teach some queer chata classes together starting in February. But there is so much weight stigma in the dance world, where even somebody who is, thin, mid size is like kind of an anomaly in the dance world. And I want to hear your thoughts on that. I want to talk about it and name it so that people listening can start to think about it if they're not already.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I want to actually connect it to what we were just talking about, culture. And it's wild to me that we've gotten so far away from the roots of these dances that we are focused on aesthetics. Like that in itself is like a departure from the way most of these dances originated and what they're for and what they're about, which is celebration, ritual, community, like trauma, processing of trauma, like somatic release. Like we've come up with all these names sort of retroactively for things that people
Right.
have been doing to feel good in their bodies and to feel in community with each other and to, be liberated and like resist colonial powers. Like there's all sorts of really amazing things about dance and the body focus is something that really highlights that for me because all bodies have done these dances
Yes.
for all of time.
Yeah.
Right? And so the fact that we are like so far removed from that the bodies that are displayed are really standardized, like there's not a lot of diversity or variety in some community. I feel like every dance community and every dance style has different kinds of people that represent their dance style, but on the whole, like the videos I see that get really popular, like all this, these are people in like, for the most part, a really narrow range of body size, body type. And I think that is something I notice because of the work I do, and not a lot of people do notice that. I think it's out of awareness for a lot of people entirely.
Yeah, I think that even if people aren't like mentally conscious of it, we're all feeling it. It's really interesting how there's our culture does this in general, but you can really feel it on dance floors about how there's this focus to straight, thin white people. And you'll feel it just being in the space. You'll know, you'll be able to feel who's getting asked to dance more, who's getting focused more. If you see performances, you see who's on stage. It's something that we really internalize, whether we're conscious of it or not.
Absolutely. And my experience when I started taking salsa classes on my team, I was the biggest person on the team, and I know that, and everyone can see that, right? And so I never got any comments about it. Nobody ever was mean to me about it. There wasn't like an overt thing, but just the fact of showing up in a class and being the biggest person in the room, like that was really informative to me about how these spaces are for people.
Totally.
And especially people in larger bodies, especially people with disabilities, especially people with, like, there's a whole section of people that are kind of left out, even by virtue of just who's in class, like who tends to be in class, who tends to sign up for these things. Like,
right, because you're not the only big person in Seattle.
No,
which means
not.
people in bodies like yours or, various sizes are just like opting out completely because they don't see representation of them. I remember this was like kind of early in my career, and this is the biggest I've ever been. But 5 or 6 years ago, I remember posting a video of me, like a demo, and the first comment with like all these likes was, "Wow, thank you so much for having a body like yours be represented." And it was like news to me that it was like a big deal, but it made me like hella self-conscious after that, because I was just like, wow, and that was like, I started to really notice it afterwards. I really gained that awareness of like, holy shit, this is like a very tiny, narrow representation of what's going on in people's mind's eye and visually of what can be a dancer.
Yeah. When we talk about like a dancer's body, they have a dancer's body. They're normally like referring to someone who's like really lanky and thin and angular. And a dancer's body is our bodies, like you were saying before, and like that, like all bodies are a dance.
Yeah, age 0 to age 100, like all sorts of sizes, shapes, cultures. Like it's when you think about it, it makes sense. Like it starts to fall apart the way that we approach things now. And I think this is something I've encountered a lot, even with friends who are very aware and very social justice oriented. The whole social justice piece about body size is just not a thing that people are talking about as much or even aware of. That there's this whole like set of experiences in the world that people have if they're in larger bodies versus thin bodies. Thin and fat bodies have very different experiences in the world. And in the dance world in particular, like I remember sharing, every time I talk to my friends about like how much people get asked to dance. Like there is just a very, very obvious difference between how many times I get asked to dance and who asked me to dance versus like my thin friends. And that's not even something that I, at this point, I'm like, oh no, because like I don't want to dance with people who don't want to dance with me. Like
Totally.
like whatever. Like you're missing out. You're lost. You know. Like, but it is just, it's so obvious. And I think sometimes when I bring it up to people, they're very quick to be like, oh no, that's not a thing, or oh no, like it doesn't land. And it's really fascinating to me that it's kind of like an area where a lot of people are not aware of the difference.
Yeah.
That's what I say. Privilege makes you stupid. They can't see it. They just can't unless you've been there. You can't see it. Like I'm someone, my weight fluctuates a lot. So there's been times where I've been dancing in a plus size body, and there's times that I've been dancing in a mid-sized body. I don't think I've ever been dancing in a thin body. I don't know if I could say that about myself, but it's different even from that, from being mid-sized to plus size. The way I am treated on a dance floor is completely different. And then even in a mid-sized body, I look at people who are thin and I'm like, wow, their experiences multiplied from what I'm having right now. So it's really hard to go to a dance floor when you know you're going to be treated differently just because of the way you look, is especially because you're going to then interact with people with your body. And if your body is viewed as different, then it's like a hard mountain to climb. And it's like so important, so freeing that we do it, that everybody dances with everyone. So it's like really something that we need to challenge and get over. Is there anything, Anne, that you bring with like all your therapist knowledge of how to then be someone in a bigger body in these spaces?
Yeah, well, I just think about like, I think a lot of it is truly out of people's awareness because we have all these unconscious biases. So like people, I imagine some people look at me and because of the size of my body, they're like, oh, she probably isn't as good, or she doesn't dance as much, or because we have all of these implicit associations of fatness and laziness, or like not working out enough, or like you just don't, and here I am dancing like, 12 hours a week, like at least, like training on a performance team, like doing all of these things. And so I just have become really solid in my own sense of myself and what's important to me on the dance floor, that like if I'm truly getting asked less because of my body size, like that's actually, it's like self-selecting. Like the people who aren't asking me are not people that I want to dance with anyway. So there's part of that comes in. And then I also think that a lot of what we talk about at work, you've mentioned this on the podcast, actually, the skill of opposite action.
Yes.
So I have used this a lot in my dance journey. And I will often do things because I have the urge not to do them. Like I will go to salsa class. Like I remember the first 6 months of salsa, it was really hard for me to show up and be the biggest person there and be new and be not very, like I wasn't at that time very athletic. I was not in great shape. Like, and so I just had all these barriers coming up for me about even wanting to show up. And I just like continue to show up. And that's like something we tell our clients, like, just keep showing up, keep showing up, keep showing up. Like, unless obviously you're being harmed in the environment, like the more you show up, the more familiar it gets. And then the more you can kind of connect with like, okay, is this really a good place for me? Is this just my stuff coming up? Like, and so I got into the environment that way and just kept showing up. And then the other thing I'll do, like, I think being on a performance team was also a huge step in that respect for me, because I was like, people with bodies like mine don't perform. Like, I don't see people on stage in bigger bodies. And something that I liked about BGC, which is the company I dance with, is I did see bigger bodies on their stages. Like I did see a diversity of size, and I was like, oh, this community might be one that will accept me and like help me, grow in my performance capabilities without that being the focus. And was true, like hands down, definitely true. It's awesome. Like, and so being able to find communities that were really supportive and that I could see examples, I could see myself represented in them. I could go do it and try it. And like, my body, the way I feel now is like, like I can go out stage and like be hot and like be performing the routine and like wear whatever I want. And that took a lot of opposite action of continuing to show up. Like it takes a lot of like being self-conscious and like doing it anyway, or like being afraid and doing it anyway, because I knew that it would be good for me. And yeah, I think that like confidence in myself has built over time, that now I can like show up and I'm like, well, I'm just gonna show up and be here and like be in my body. And yeah, anyway, that was long, but
no, that's incredible. I feel very inspired. It's a lot about like taking up space. And I love hearing that you're finding communities where you're also seeing yourself represented. Yeah, that's really important.
And then now I am that person.
Yeah.
Like
no, you're a total trailblazer in my opinion, Anne. You're somebody that has like done something to change the community. And for me, the primary reason isn't about your body. Like that's like the least interesting thing about you, or like the most interesting thing. I don't know. But to me, it's about the way you show up in authenticity. And that's what I like. Oh, as soon as I met you, I was like, we've got a live one here.
Love that.
But it is like there are so few people that are in the public sphere that are representing something different.
Yeah.
And so my hope is that it just starts to kind of grow and bubble up. And like when I first started dancing, I was in spaces where I was actively like hurt and harmed by comments about my body in like a thin mid-sized body.
Yeah. I believe that for sure.
I mean, because in 2014 is very different than 2026.
Yeah.
And there were times I would leave a social setting in tears because of what was said to me, or just like hating myself, and that opposite action of like showing up and changing and learning that those people aren't who I want anyways. Like that took a lot. And it took me taking a fat break.
Yes.
As well.
Yes, it does take a lot. And I kind of thank my lucky stars that I wasn't exposed to more. Like sometimes I'm like, if I had started this journey earlier in my life, like as a kid or earlier before I found communities, like because it was sort of like I could start in a community that already felt safe. Whereas like before you find those communities, you're just exposed and you don't know what you're going to get. And that is really scary. That is like, and I have gotten some comments, but not a ton. And I consider myself lucky to not have gotten more because I think there's a lot more that people, can say and probably are thinking that isn't said. And it's interesting that you mentioned the authenticity piece, and I really take that to heart. That's really meaningful to me, that feedback. And also I think the breakthrough for me with body image is actually realizing oh, this isn't about my body at all. This is about how I embody myself.
Totally.
This is about how I show up on stage, and I am memorable. I am having fun. I am connected and connecting with the audience, and I've grown in those capacities. And I think that's actually me getting through the body stuff that was in the way to be able to just breathe and relax and enjoy myself and fully sink in with everyone watching me, which is really hard and a work in progress and super cool when it clicks. Yeah.
Well, I've learned a lot from you today, Anne. I really appreciate you joining us and schooling us with some really good therapy and how it relates to the dance world.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this has been an amazing conversation. These interviews are so great because I just feel sparked by them, and also specifically inspired by your journey and what it is that you bring to the dance world and to the world at large. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much. I get really excited. I'm overheated. I love talking about this stuff so much.
It's definitely really good. All right, let's wrap it up.
Bring it on home.
You can leave us a review on your fave podcast platform.
Yes, and of course, as usual, all love letters suggestions, and any feedback can go to degenderdance@gmail.com.
And that's it for us today. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks, Anne. Bye.
Thanks, Anne.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks so much.
Triple step. Ooh, ah, jazz hands.